nobody indeed. What is good? Welcome into Driving the Line. My name is Alan Bell. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you today. We are going to talk everything today. Everything college basketball, conference tournaments, March Madness. All right, futures in regards to that. Major League Baseball, we're going to break all of it down, what we have, plus the NFL. So much to get to. Now, as always, before we look forward, we have to look back at how we did yesterday. All right, 3-3. I was really needing Oregon State to get some runs there. They got the win, but we did not get the over 10.5. Now, we do have to talk about real quick Houston. All right, so we had them on the money line. So you've got Oregon money line winner, all right, already in the bag. And we got that team total over there. That team total the second inning. Your book is either going to – so, okay, there was lightning in the Houston game, and it was delayed until March 18th. Yes, March 18th. I have no idea why. But they're going to pick right up where they left off, okay? So your book is going to do one of two things. It's either going to refund you half of that money for Houston, all right, or it's just going to leave it open. Yeah, let me know what your book does, because every book is probably going to be different in regards to that one. But college baseball, again, good day. Really good day. And Texas plus 2.5 against Vanderbilt. Dude, that Arkansas minus 4.5 was brutal. Arkansas wins by 4. They were up 20 in the damn game, and then they ended up losing by 4. That was brutal. And then Virginia, Georgia Tech. All right, we missed that one by 2 buckets. We could have had a monster day yesterday, but could have been bad too. So we'll just take the even, move on, and be good with it. All right, the Discord. Go ahead and sign up if you haven't already. All of our March Madness info is going to be in there. Plus, you've got a live chat and a live show essentially anytime that you want it. Whether you want to pop in right after the show, whether you want to walk throughout the day, you want to come in at midnight. Yeah, there you go. So, okay. All right. Yeah, Tony, Hard Rock paid out as a winner. Yep. Brian Blade. Sorry, my boy. DK just paid out the Oregon win. There you go. Right. So every book's going to be different. Let me know what your book does. But Discord QR code, grab it right there. All right. We have no time to waste. We got 2 great guests, and we got a whole lot of picks to get to. So let's jump right into it. All right. First off, my man, Anand. Welcome back, my boy. How are you? Good to see you, buddy.
Alan, good to see you, man. Thanks for having me again. Had a lot of fun the last time, so let's run it back.
Yeah, man. Tell everybody, dude, where you at? Where you working now? I know, man, you every media cover there is, you've done it, hammered it, covered every sport there is. What are you doing now, buddy?
Yeah, so Alan and I met when I was working over at MGM, so we did that for a little while. Went over to Prize Picks for a little bit, so kind of seen the insides of both the gambling and the DFS side. Now doing some work with my buddy Matt Kelly over at Player Profiler. We just launched an app called Fast Draft, so if, fantasy football and DFS is your kind of thing, we'll be rolling stuff out all through this year and into next year, man. But, excited to get into it.
I love it, man. I love it. And in our Discord, so we have our man Zach Phelps has absolutely crushed it in terms of organizing all the rooms. And we have one room that is essentially our black book, right? And it's just contact info for all of our friends. So I'll make sure I'll get all of your info in there, where everybody can find you, not only Twitter, but the apps to download, where to, sites, all that. So
yeah, thanks, man.
Oh, of course, dude. Look, we're going to need you, brother. All right. We're absolutely going to need you. So, yeah, definitely, man. Good to have you on. And then my boy, California Wager himself, Greg Matson. What's good, brother?
Go ahead. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Me and you were talking, we were going to hit up, a big day of college baseball. And then we looked and we were like, oh, there's 4 games and there's no odds. So, yeah. So much for that.
Another day in that sport. It's always a fun one. Never know what you're going to get from lines even available or who's going to play this day. So
I know, dude. It's absolutely brutal. It's my favorite sport in the world, and it can absolutely just take a chainsaw to your feet. It's just tough, but it's fun. All right, so we got some picks. Time to get into them, and here are our picks for today. So we've got a lot in regards to futures. We're going to break down March Madness, conference tournaments in basketball, Major League Baseball. We're going to run through it, NFL free agency. We got a lot, but for our picks today, all right, we'll just start right there. And Greg, I'll tell you what, throw it to you first. What do you got?
Yeah, we're going to jump on that. Bigger day of basketball, obviously. We got conference tournaments moving. Lighter day with college baseball today as we prep for the weekend. So a couple different plays today. Jumped on Boise State, found a +1. I know that line had flipped in a bunch of books, so we did jump on the Boise State number. Also have Xavier early today. We're taking them with +2.5. This is a prime example to me of a team that's playing really, really well to end the season. We know how crazy the Big East tournament can be. Talk about an absolute marathon. So we will jump on Xavier and staying in the Big East. Staying on that side of the country, we will stay with UConn today. Going to be intriguing to see what's going to happen this year. It's been disappointing season. I guess coming off of what was back-to-back, phenomenal championships the last 2 years, but going to stick with UConn, like the -2.5. Think that they're going to have a chance to make a run and keep things interesting as we get into another March. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a team that's played well come tournament time, and it has a lot of experience, and coaching side has a lot to do with that. So I think that will be another very interesting tournament for the Huskies. Also put together a 3-team parlay. Louisville, Illinois, Purdue. If you look at that, you can kind of see where my angle is with it. A couple teams that have played already a few days, and tournament time is one of those angles where you can look for tired legs. We saw it last night with Cal at the end of the game, and I think we're going to see it again tonight a few different ways.
Nice. There we go. And look, two things real quick. All right, so I might have mistyped UConn, I believe 6.5, not 2.5. I apologize there. The number 2, Matty Boy says, all right, Greg, thank you for saying, go ahead and say it again.
Xavier.
There we go. Xavier. All right. Apparently I was saying Xavier. Yeah. So you know what? All we aim for is correctness. All right. On the show. So Greg, well done. Matt, thank you for pointing that out. Xavier. Did I do that correctly?
X.
All right, there we go. X can work too. You know what? Simplifying it, all right, is good for me. Okay, there we go. All right. Now I'm throwing it over to you, buddy. You've got a nice little cornucopia of picks today. Break them down. What you got, buddy?
Yeah, so these are all just we're playing the number, right? It's not so much the team. It's not so much an angle in terms of how someone's doing. It's purely numbers based here. We've got Mitch Marner should be about +225, and then he's going at +270 for to score a goal tonight. Cubs first inning money line, we have somewhere in the +320 range, getting about 40 cents there. Stanford first half money line, another one where that Stanford Louisville game could go just about any direction, and no one would be that surprised. Again, that's just how these games go this time of year. I'm an Ohio State fan. We saw them kind of do really bad things playing against Iowa last night. So Stanford first half money line comes through for us. That'll clear everything. And then CJ McCollum, which we have probably should be priced at somewhere in the -160 range, over 4.5 assists tonight at -115. So these are all pure numbers plays, not necessarily about, how that team's doing, what the forecast is looking like, or necessarily anything other than we think that we're getting a better number than what's out there.
Nice. Well done. Hey, absolutely well done. Hold on, let me pull these back up. Let me say this. So as an Ohio State man yourself, I still have PTSD from playing you in football. That was, that was fun, man. Tennessee, we had a great time. The first 17 seconds of the game, we had a blast. Absolute blast. After that, it was like, all right, where's the exits around here at the shoe? But no, that's the first time that we talked since that. And, dude, got to give you some love, man. Like, first off, hell of a run, like, through the playoff. Like, because people talk about pressure, okay, and that coaches feel and that players feel. And, look, Ohio State, pressure. Like, after that Michigan game, my man was facing losing his job, like, all kinds of stuff. It was wild. And then just showed up, said, well, we're just going to beat everyone with a lead pipe and everybody else can just deal with it. So well done. First time that we talked since we had the national championship. Congratulations, man.
Thanks, man. I mean, funny story behind the scenes there. after the Michigan loss, which everybody, knew that shit was going to hit the fan. They held a players only meeting. Ryan Day was the only coach there and kind of let it all out for 4 hours. I went to practice that next week, and it looked like a different team. It looked like, a team that had, quite honestly, nothing to lose. And, when we saw them come out against Tennessee, this is going to get lost. Everybody's going to forget about this. You're a Tennessee fan. You're not going to forget about this. But that game was 21-10 at the half. That final score looks a certain way. But Tennessee got the ball coming out in the second half, and I was looking at everybody around me. I'm like, hey, if Tennessee scores here, things are about to get real tight real quick. And I think that, that and then the first half against Oregon kind of gave them the confidence that, hey, we can play any game that anybody wants to play. We can play them tight, but we can also just get out to a 30-point lead and run. But yeah, I mean, it was special to be there for obviously all 4 of those. And it was kind of interesting to be there for the Michigan game and then all 4 of those. It was just, once that second half surge hit Tennessee, I think it was kind of different and people kind of bought back into the program again.
Yeah, dude, you're exactly right. And like going into halftime, like when Tennessee got that score, I said the same thing, right? I was with my dad, and I was like, it was like, okay, we get the ball, go score. Like completely different game. The pressure's on then. You know what I mean? And then that didn't happen. And then another like quick thing, and then we'll get back to the picks. I'm sorry. But like what Ohio State doesn't get credit for is the amount of travel during the playoffs. Like you guys literally covered the entire United States. Like you played right in Ohio, and then you go play the Rose Bowl, right? Like you literally just did a trip around the United States. You went and played Tech. Like Tech, that was a home game for Tech. You know what I mean? So
the funniest part, as soon as they lost to Michigan, we kind of saw it coming, that 8-9 matchup. What I saw was, and Notre Dame saved us in a way, we were going to have to play Oregon on their side of the country.
Yep.
Texas and Dallas, and then potentially Georgia and Atlanta.
Yeah, literally like home game, dude. I know. So anyways, congrats on that, man. It's awesome. I've been holding that, like waiting to get to talk to you like live on air. So congratulations, my boy.
Thanks,
all right. Yeah, man. All right. College basketball. So yeah, man, Arkansas 4.5 yesterday ripped our guts out. Right. And I said on Twitter right after it, I was like, dude, I am taking this down. Like I am tired of playing spreads over anything 3. I really just want to play money line. So yeah. Let me go with this. Ole Miss money line against Arkansas. And then we're going to take Kentucky money line. I'm going to put those 2 together. That's all that I want to do is just play those 2 teams to win the damn game. That is it. Give me those 2 at plus 105. And then tonight, I am going to play one spread. And in the chat, I lost it. But it was exactly right. I can't find it. But essentially, it was this. Kansas, legs, tired. Absolutely. There it is. Yeah. All right, my boy. All right, the Cyclone himself. Parlayed Arizona and Iowa State money lines today. Kansas is going to be gassed after last night. Completely agree on the mindset, right? Like, that's why I'm going with it. Arizona fresh. Take them minus 2.5 again. Low spread. Yeah, let's go ahead and get it. So put those 2 together. All right, so those are our picks for today. And we'll get back to it for anybody that jumps in a little bit later. But, dude, we got a lot that we want to jump into. Now, look at Melanie Sue asking about you. Anon, Melanie saying hello. A mutual friend of ours. Melanie's absolutely fantastic. She is the Minister of Culture here over at Driving the Lines. So definitely want to make sure that she said hello to you, buddy.
What's up, Mel? Long time no see.
There we go. There we go. All right. So, all right, let's jump into March Madness here, okay? And we've got conference tournaments, all right? And, Greg, I'm going to come to you in just a second because you've broken down basically every conference tournament and every conference tournament winner that we have. But first, I want to take a step back and just projecting with the odds, all right, of what we have to win the national championship, okay? So, Anand, I'm going to throw it over to you first because you have a conference winner, all right, and a national champion winner, all right, that you're kind of projecting out and looking, saying, all right, I think this team could do it. Team from the SEC, man, looking at Florida, man, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at how Florida's played this entire year, so much of it, we can get caught up in the numbers forever and we can stare everything down. And that's how we get beat in our office bracket pool by someone who picked based on mascots. But when it comes to picking a national champion, you're usually narrowing that window down to, 7 or 8 teams that can actually make the full run. And of them, I feel like, Duke at their price, Auburn at their price are probably a little bit overpriced. But Florida, I mean, you're talking about a team that, I mean, we don't want to talk about what they did to your Falls, man. That was a tough scene, tough scene to watch. But when you watch them play, they don't get run off the floor by anybody. They're very, very consistent. I think of all the teams in the tournament, you could see Duke is obviously very Cooper Flag led. God forbid he has an off night, they can be clipped. Auburn, same thing with Broome. Florida to me seems like the most balanced team. And so for that reason, obviously, Houston's right there as well. But for me, I think Florida to the Final Four is a good one, and Florida national champion as well.
Like, yeah, look, I completely agree with you. And I mean, in the SEC, like seeing Florida all year long, like their ceiling is as high as anyone, right? As high as anyone's. It's going to be, can we get the consistency? I think that we do. Like, I think that Florida is going to be an absolute, because everyone in the SEC is going to look at Auburn, right? And rightfully so. Do not get me wrong. Auburn, Bruce Pearl, everything they've been doing, it's been fantastic, right? But I'm with you right there, man. Florida, and especially like if you're looking at like a Final Four play in regards to those odds, or even, looking out at the national championship, like these are solid odds, right? So yeah, completely agree. Miles, good to see you. Good morning as well. Good to see you. All right. Now, we've already on the show, we put in, it was late last week, we put in a future on Duke to win the national championship. Now, I'm going to ask this question real quick. All right. For fun. All right. You don't have to put too terribly much thought into it. So today, Duke is playing in the ACC tournament. It's their first game. All right. Playing against Georgia Tech. Duke is a 22.5 point favorite. Yet they have covered 20 plus spreads like 4 in a row. Do they cover 22.5 against Georgia Tech? Greg, I'll throw it to you first.
The way, as much as I would be interested in taking Georgia Tech, there's just, this is a motivated Duke team that's playing as well as we've seen, especially right now. You look at how they ended the season in dominating fashion, and they've got big goals in their mind. Hard to want to step in front of them. As easy of a layoff as there is to me as a bettor, but I would have a tough time getting in the way of the Blue Devils right now.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not touching Georgia Tech, man. Like it's one of those things where I don't feel great about betting Duke at that number, but it's the fear of the opposite side. You cannot be sitting there sweating with a GT ticket. There's just no way. I'm not doing it. If you're gonna go one way or the other, you got to go Duke there,
dude. I'm with you because it's one of those things to where you look at it, right, and it's 22.5 points, and like you place the bet, you're like, okay. I don't care who it is. It's 22.5 points. And then like 5 minutes of the game, you go, this ain't good. Like, this isn't good. Duke's on a roll, right? Like Duke's the one team that you're like, I'll either bet Duke or I'll bet nothing. Like I cannot, like you said, man, I'm not getting in the way of that train. Like I'm not doing it at all. All right, Greg, throw it over to you, man. Look at this list, right? So we've talked about Duke. We just talked about Florida. If you take a look here, these are the numbers, right? Win national championship. And again, we're not holding your feet to the fire on this bet, right? Like we're just 3 dudes at a bar talking. Which way would you go here?
If I'm looking at value, I still feel like there's decent value on Florida. At that number with what we've seen from them at their peak and the way that they can play defense, and we know that push comes to shove, the shots will not always follow. You're changing arenas every week. There's a lot going on within college basketball in the tournament. And at times, Florida has looked insanely good. Houston, at the same time, we felt they could be, a force. It wouldn't be a big surprise. They've been won for so long. I still think Florida, I think you see 8-1. Is that what I'm seeing right now?
Yep.
Yeah, I still think there's good value. I know off this board, we also last week talked about Clemson, who fits a lot of brackets as well, with some pretty solid value. But of this board, I think that I do like Florida still. I think that the Gators are big aspirations. I'd love to say the Johnnies, but I feel like that's such a public play right now. I don't know if I still have faith in St. John's to get that push. I can see them winning a couple rounds, but hard to envision them getting all the way into that Final Four. So for me, maybe not as exciting, but I will stick with the Gators, like I mentioned last week.
Yeah. No. I mean, good call. Look, the fact that both of you, like, without speaking to each other, well, let me say, without knowing each other, you know what I mean? Like, you both immediately were like, yeah, Florida. Like, dude, I agree. Like, their ceiling is super, super high. Now, looking at this, right? Like, betting a team to win the national championship in basketball, it's a tough bet because you've got to win so many games. We don't even know the bracket yet, right? So it's like it's so difficult. You know what I mean? So that's why like we just keep this as like a conversation. But I think that you guys did bring up a good point. And again, you have to have the bracket. You have to see it because you need to know, obviously opponents and possible potential future opponents. But, talking about teams that are, say, Final Four teams, right? Like looking at that from a betting perspective, and we don't have the odds up there. But, again, like I think you guys nailed on it, right? Like Duke, Auburn, Florida, right? Like those are good bets in regards to teams that could make the Final Four. We didn't talk about Houston, and I feel like no one does. But my God, man, like this Houston team is incredible. Like they play defense aggressively, but they can also score. They can fire threes. They know that they don't need to score, which is kind of frightening, right? So, like, do we think that Houston could win a title, right? Or are we looking at them as like, okay, I think that this is a Final Four team, but when they go up against Duke or go up against Florida, maybe they don't have the offense. Like, and now, what do you think about Houston?
I think
Yeah.
My biggest question about Houston is what kind of draw are they going to get? Right. Last year we saw, I can't remember if it was at the South or the Midwest, that was just murderer's row. You had like 4 or 5 teams that were way underseeded, and it just turned into absolute carnage. And, if they get thrown in a bracket like that and Duke, Auburn, and Florida get cakewalks, that's one thing. But, I think for Houston specifically, one of the things that never gets talked about is everybody talks about guard play in the tournament, 3-point shooting in the tournament. Nobody talks about if you can suffocate a team and hold them to 15 or 20 and a half. Houston can do that. And, I don't know that they can do it all the way to a title. But when you're looking at teams that have the opportunity to just grind games out, because you're not going to win every game by 15. In our heads, going backwards, we're always like, oh, the national champion just clobbered everybody, especially if the title game is kind of non-competitive. But there are 2 or 3 games at least where you're going to need to grind out, 2 to 5 point wins. And I think that the way that they play defense bodes really well for them in late game situations where, one possession here, one possession there is the difference between advancing and going home. So I really like the team. Obviously, I think it's more of a bracket draw for them, whereas, Duke, Auburn, Florida, much more we know what they are, and we'll just take the talent and what they've put on paper against anybody. But Houston specifically, I think, is a really tough matchup for any of those top 3 teams, just because they can do everything that those teams can do, but they can also defend better.
It's well said. And, looking at DraftKings right now, to make the Final Four, all right, to make just the Final Four, Florida is plus 140, Houston plus 150. So if you're looking at that, Duke, I believe, is like minus 145. So, yeah, like it's almost even priced itself out of just making the Final Four. But, yeah, man, like I think that, Florida, Houston, those might be good ways to go about it. All right, so that's some March Madness here. Now, let's shift it over here. And, Anon, I'm going to throw it to you first and then Greg right after. So the NFL, we're right in the middle of free agency, all right? And it literally, like, it just started, but it's on fire. You know what I mean? And like, not like your Twitter account, number one, it's great, like all year long. But during like NFL, like tentpole event times, right? The combine, free agency, the draft, the Super Bowl, right? Like you were out there as well. Like all of these, it's hilarious because it never stops. And we've both been in the NFL media, like, all of it literally does not stop. And when you have these event times, it just comes at you, dude, in a flurry. So your account is hilarious because you'll be giving the most pristine breakdown, and then you'll send a tweet. You're like, I'm exhausted. Like, this doesn't stop. And it cracks me, dude. It makes me laugh. Like, just knowing your personality because you're hilarious. So taking a look at NFL free agency, right? So here is our checklist. And we introduced this, what was it? It was earlier this week. I guess it was Tuesday. But so let me run through just the positions, and we'll get back to it in a second. But like, we see the quarterbacks here: Sam Darnold, Justin Fields. All right, we got Daniel Jones, Jacoby Brissett, Marcus Mariota, Mac Jones yesterday signing with the 49ers there. Running back, again, we'll get to it. Wide receivers, there's a lot of them. We'll have to put that full screen. But just so far, okay, Anand, who has been your winners in free agency, like teams? And it could be multiple, could be one. Like, who has just done a good job so far that you've seen?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that people don't talk about when it comes to free agency is you're going to have to overpay because they're on the market. And a lot of the times the big spenders in free agencies are a team that sucks. And the reason that they're spending in free agency is because they didn't draft and develop, or they have a gaping hole, or they have a lot of dead cap money and they've got to do something. When you look at a team that I think was a winner, it wasn't even necessarily free agency, but the Raiders grabbing Geno Smith from Seattle at the price that they got him for. You know, they didn't have to give up a first-round pick. And, you know, kind of the smaller moves that they've made, I would say that they were a pretty big winner. I think when you look at some teams that did little things, the Colts taking Daniel Jones for 1 year, $14 million, which, again, they gave Anthony Richardson the easiest litmus test of all time. It's literally this simple. If you can't beat out Daniel Jones, we can't have you here. It's just that simple, right?
Yeah.
And you know, having the ability to have a guy that, you know, at least has piloted an offense to a somewhat capable degree. But I think a lot of the winners of free agencies are, funnily enough, teams that didn't overpay for guys. I know it's super popular to talk about, you know, the team that spent all this money, and we talk about Carolina, who's, you know, obviously writing checks for everybody. You know, Chicago, the Bears, obviously fortifying both lines, guard, center, guard, D tackle. I mean, they're doing all the things. But I think long term, when you look at teams that win, quote unquote, free agency, a lot of the times it's the kid that doesn't touch the stove and doesn't get their hand burned.
Yep. No, look, I absolutely, I think you knocked that out of the park, right? Like, you broke it down exactly, because we focus on the teams that spent a bunch of money, but it's the teams that spent the right amount of money and spent it efficiently. I love everything that the Raiders have done. We've been talking about them literally ever since, you know, they hired Pete Carroll, right? And I'm a Pete Carroll guy. Like, I like him. I don't care what anybody says about him. You look at that resume, there ain't a lot of losing on there. And he's done it at every level and at every place. And it's not like, you know, when him and the Seahawks, you know, kind of split in regards to him being the head coach, it wasn't like he was 3-15. You know what I mean? Like, he was fighting for a playoff spot. It was just time. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like, I love him going to the Raiders. We've talked about this part as well. I'm a huge Geno Smith guy. I think that it all makes sense. And like you said, you know, the price is absolutely correct, man. Like, Greg, I thought the same thing over to you, man. Like, just across the NFL, doesn't have to be quarterback position, doesn't have to be anything like that. But, you know, what have you seen? What has caught your eye, you know, in regards to it? Or it might be one of these, you know, quarterbacks, right? Like, we talked about the other day that, you know, DK going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, that could be a great move for Russell Wilson. An hour later, Justin Fields signs with the Jets. We're like, okay, maybe that means Russ, you know, in Pittsburgh. Like, Greg, what have you seen, man? What's caught your eye, either positive or negative?
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be positive or negative yet, but, you know, as a lifelong Niners fan and season ticket holder for almost 20 years, it's a little interesting, to say the least. A little bit concerning with, you know, where things have been in San Francisco and, you know, where it's headed right now. I think we're going to have a pretty decent offseason, or the rebuild is very true. I don't know if the Mac Jones signing is going to be the savior for the season.
4 years later, you got your guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like,
I've been waiting since he was at Alabama. Finally, you know, we've just been counting the days till he got here. So I've been holding all my Mac Jones rookie cards for this reason. But it's going to be. I mean, I guess staying in the West, I am interested with what the Rams have done. They've gotten definitely stronger in terms of their in their power positions. I mean, you look at what they've done receiver wise. It's going to make it interesting. I do like a little bit in terms of what we're going to get from the Rams this season. I think that there was value. It's coming down obviously right now, but them in the West is going to be interesting. And the Niners are kind of up in the air right now. We're not sure what's going to happen with them and what the direction they're taking right now is. The one that did catch my eye, just as a general fan standpoint, was Hopkins signing with the Ravens. It's going to be interesting to see if it has an effect, what effect it has. But, with building that offense and giving them another weapon, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, it may just be another aimless, dart at the board to hope you get something for Lamar. But boy, it's another name. It's, established and definitely has some skill.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like with D-Hop, right? Like, he obviously being in Nashville here and then, traded over to Kansas City. The way that Kansas City utilized him essentially as kind of a big body tight end, like he wasn't running deep routes at all. It was a lot of 5 yards and in. And then it just kind of got away. Like his playtime kind of went down, and it was interesting, but it's also Kansas City. Like they do their own thing. I think that it's a good move for Baltimore because, again, with Lamar, and I'm not saying this as a negative on Lamar, it has nothing to do with it, but Baltimore's a very running back, tight end, power style base of an offense, especially with Derrick Henry there. So when you have a guy like D-Hop who is a short yardage target with hands that you could theoretically trust, it makes sense, right? Like, absolutely. I still feel bad for Mark Andrews. My God, I still feel bad for my guy. Like, dude, I know that this offseason is just killing him. Like every single day he's waking up upset. But
AB, you got to consider, right?
Yep.
It's the Titans and the Ravens. It's the last stop before Valhalla for all the former All-Pro receivers.
It is.
Right? Where it's like, Andre Johnson, all right, you're going to be a Titan. All right, peace. You're out.
It is. It totally is. I swear to God. Like, I'll make this bet right now. Cooper Kupp will be a Titan. Like, I swear to God. Like, it
do that to my boy.
I know. Like, dude. So, like, in Nashville, like, there's a lot of media that was talking about it. And somebody called in and they said, look, I like Cooper Kupp, who in Christ is throwing the ball to him. And the whole show was like, I don't know. Like,
man.
But you're right. It is. It's the last stop before Valhalla. It 1000% is.
He can just cut the middle and head to Jacksonville, get his retirement ready early.
Yeah, there you go. Dude, it's basically like the AFC South. Right, like it's just the AFC South is crazy, and then we saw that trade with Houston sitting Laremy Tunsil. And I'll tell you what, let me put the picks up here on screen for anybody who just jumped in, so that everybody can see it. But we'll keep talking NFL wise, bro. Yeah, like I was cracking up because like Laremy Tunsil goes, and somebody sent a tweet. I can't remember who it was. They said, yeah, nothing says helping out CJ Stroud by making his offensive line way worse. And I started cracking up and I was like, I know. And I like Houston. They're an odd team. But they're in a division that they could just beat the hell out of the Colts, Titans, and Jags. You know what I mean? Like, now what have you seen?
So the not so secret about Laremy Tunsil is they couldn't get him to work. Like, by that, I don't mean like, he didn't work with their O-line. I mean, there were people kicking and dragging to get him to practice every day. He was just one of those. And, that's not out there all the time. Like, it's not super public information, but you ask anybody in the know and they're like, yeah, he was kind of a problem when he was in Miami. He's definitely been a problem when he was in Houston. I mean, good player, but not someone that you want to assess a ton of capital towards going forward. A lot of teams won't do this. I mean, I think, I tweeted out yesterday, bold of them to just not have an offensive line for 2025. You're going to get your QB killed. We saw this in the division with Andrew Luck. Like, you don't need to do this. please, for the love of God, invest, whether it's the draft or in free agency. But I think Laramie at that point was just it's kind of like Deontay Johnson, where if enough teams have basically said you're talented but no, you tend to be out of the league rather quickly at that point. And I think their idea was,
Vic Beasley.
We're not going to be caught with the hot potato. We'll ship him out and we'll figure out whatever we need to do. But the holding penalties obviously were a problem. The lack of practice focus and his lack of basically accessibility for a lot of his other guys, I think, was a big part of the reason that they moved on. But those are the kinds of things that go on behind the scenes, because obviously that's a big name. He was a high draft pick. And so there's still a lot of cachet attached to his name, and the play on the field hasn't quite matched what you would think he should be.
And you know what? Like, the good thing about it is that I think it's like, with everything you just said, it's a perfect move for Washington, because when you get somebody in a new spot and it's new, it's fresh, he'll come in like with a good attitude, good spot. I don't know how long that lasts, but you do get that initial spark. And then, for somebody like Jaden Daniels, like, it's a nice piece right there on the left side. Like, I think it's a good short-term move for Washington. And somebody like Dan Quinn, who's like, okay, I know how to handle this. Like, I've been around the league. But also somebody like D'Amico Ryans, who I could see is absolutely not with that type of attitude whatsoever. D'Amico's like, I'll fight you myself. You think that I won't? Like, I can go too. So I think it's a good move in regards to that. Now, all right, we'll end free agency talk, the NFL talk, and we'll keep it going, obviously, all throughout the offseason. But we'll end it on this one. Okay. And Anon, I'll throw it over to you first. Okay. What the hell happens with the number 1 overall pick? Okay. And let me set it up to the options and everything, not for you, but just for anybody who may not be paying attention. Okay. So the Tennessee Titans have the number 1 overall pick. They need any position whatsoever. Like, there's really no bad way that they could go. But you got a very interesting front office dynamic in Tennessee. You've got a brand new GM. You've got a head coach we don't know. We've got an owner who's just firing people left and right like it's madness, right? So I say that to say you got the number 1 overall pick, but I don't know if they're ready to go with a quarterback or not, even though they could use a quarterback, but they could use anything, right? Do the Titans keep the pick and draft, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward? Like, do they keep the pick and draft it? All the reports we've heard that the Giants would be interested in moving up. Like, what happens with the first overall pick? Like, what are your thoughts?
If you'd asked me a week ago, based on everything that I would have heard, I would have said it's the Giants trading up to 1, and it would be Cam Ward. Based on what I'm hearing now, it's probably going to be the Titans, because I don't think they're getting as much for the pick as they would want, and they'll probably take Cam Ward. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with this. When you're a team that needs as much as Tennessee does, you just need capital of any kind. You need good players. You need more draft picks. You need premium draft picks. You need all of it. You need everything. And so the door's always open. That's good GMing to basically keep the door open and say, hey, we're open for business, but overpay for this. Otherwise, we're going to take the guy we want here. All signs kind of point to Cam Ward. To me, if it's my call, I'm taking Abdul Carter. I think, the quarterback classes in 26 and 27, as you kind of build this thing out, are going to give you more than, your edge rushers, the type that Abdul Carter is. Because again, what nobody's talking about when you're talking about special players, Travis Hunter is super special player. They both are. I think both would be great picks there. But the thing that nobody's talking about when it comes to Abdul Carter is he's played edge rusher for like a year and a half. Like, you are barely scratching the surface of how good he can be, and he's already that good. And we used to talk about this. I think we talked about this on the last show we did together. When you draft a Nick Saban DB, when you draft an Alabama defensive back, you know that he's already squeezed everything there is to squeeze out of him. What he is basically a finished product. And if you're a Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's a great thing. And, if you're a D. Milliner, it's maybe not so much. And the same thing, you're looking at Penn State and how they develop these edge rushers. and they come into the league and they get better from what they were at Penn State. And they're already freaks, whether you're looking at them, a Micah Parsons, a Chop Robinson, all these guys that come into the league from Penn State. I just think that when you're looking at an Abdul Carter, you're looking at such a freak physical specimen that's already such a good product as he is now. And he's only going to get better because he hasn't done this for very long. So if it's me, that's where I would go. But all signs at the current moment point to the Titans holding on to the pick and Cam Ward being the guy.
I think you're right. And I think that this isn't the draft that you're going to have a ton of people clamoring for that number one spot, right? And that's nothing against the players. It's just, there's so many things that go into it, right? Like some years, really just nobody needs a quarterback. Everybody's got, young QBs that they've invested money in. Other years, it's like, okay, well, we're kind of cycling out, and there happens to be 7 QBs to choose from, right? So I'm with you. And, again, I don't, I think Abdul Carter would be the guy. Like, I think that you're spot on. I think that Travis Hunter would be attractive for the Titans, but I don't know if they know what they would do with him. Like, you going to play wide receiver? You going to play defensive back? You going to do both? I don't think that NFL teams necessarily want a guy to play both. Like, that's hard to do. You know what I mean? So I'm with you. I think that, for the Titans, it's about who could play right now and make a difference. Like, I don't care what position, who could play right now, and go with it. Now, all right, to end NFL for you, my man, Greg. All right, I'm going to throw it of you 49ers, all right, from that perspective, okay? Yeah, the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills have been in a puncher's spot for years now, right? And I'll never say the window's closed on San Francisco because I think that their front office is arguably the best accounting front office that I've ever seen in the NFL. They can make money stretch in ways that I've never seen, right? But for the 49ers, like, Debo's gone. I kind of think that might be addition by subtraction, as weird as that sounds, because he's a talented guy, but I think that it was time to just split for both guys. The 49ers, how are they going to be this year? Like, I know that that's a very basic question, but how are the 49ers going to, like, did they have a shot to get back and fight for a Super Bowl?
No. I will say no. I mean, it starts at the top to me with, what's hopefully, like I said earlier, is a, a rebuild that is a quick one and truly has some end game to it with some clear sight. I think as much as you mentioned the Debo, I think Dre Greenlaw is probably the biggest loss. Talano Ufunga is also a huge player. I thought that was going to have a lot of potential in the future. I loved him from the beginning. Injuries have come up and other issues, but there's a lot of things going on right now. I mean, the Niners' best player, who you can barely even remember the name, because when's the last time you've seen him on the field out there laying blocks for McCaffrey, who's then hurt, and you've got Ayuk with preseason issues with contractual stuff. There's just a lot going on behind the scenes. And I love John Lynch. I love the Niners organization. I think that, what they've done has been great. They haven't gotten over that hump for quite a while, unfortunately. And, it's kind of like the Yankees, and I hate to compare it, but it's Super Bowl or bust is what it's kind of created. And, being a born and bred Bay Area guy, I'm a 7th generation Californian. So I've been here, a long time, and I have a lot of pride for the state and the Bay Area. And the fan base has changed, the world has changed, but I think that priorities in the organization are a little all over the place right now. And Debo, like you said, isn't the worst thing leaving, but what are they going to do now with that position? What are they going to do during this free agency? What are they going to do during the draft? There's, big questions. And I don't think the answer needs to be, are the Niners going to be great this year? I don't think they will be, but where are they going to be in 2 or 3 years? And that's the key, is can they make the correct steps to get there? And, as well as I do, if it's going to happen right now, but concerning in terms of what we've lost already, defensively with just those two and more to come.
Greg, I was going to ask, obviously a lot of the talk is going to be made about Purdy and what his number looks like. Is there a number you're comfortable with? Is there a sentiment for you where it's just pay him whatever he's worth, whatever the market bears? Or is there a number where you're like, I'm out, we'll find somebody, start back, move them, and we'll figure it out?
I mean, I guess the biggest issue is when you start going and hunting out of the market, are you going to find somebody that's going to give you the return? And, the number is obviously going to be pretty high, but I mean, Purdy's been consistent. He's been everything you've asked of him times 1,000. I mean, if you put him where he was, if he got drafted in a different position, maybe the conversation's entirely different. But at the same time, we've learned that, natural ability doesn't always correlate to ability in the NFL. You might be the most amazing, talented guy that can throw the ball 100 yards. Hey, give me Jamarcus Russell. But but it doesn't always correlate into success, let alone being a team guy. And I think that as much as I've been an anti-Purdy guy, I think that right now where it is you pay him and you at least have that rock, knowing that you've got a guy that understands the system, somebody who's, I mean, if there's anybody that's going to bend over for the team, it's him. The guy owes everything to them with what they've created and made him into, and he's taking advantage of the opportunity. But right now, I think you just got to pay him and build around what's there. I think that the pieces are still in place. The Niners are still a good team. I want to say program as I'm thinking college right now, but yeah, I mean, fortunately as well. I mean, you look who's playing in that division. They're not going to have this endless onslaught week in, week out. So I think there is opportunity still to compete and look at a playoff spot, but it's not that roll out of bed and, the Niners are a preseason favorite to look at, championship against.
Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
Let me give you the answer at quarterback right here, okay? And I was at this company at this time, all right? The 2015 quarterback recruiting class, 24/7 Sports, dual threat. I want you to take a look there, and I want you to see it, all right? Number 1, Jarrett Stidham. 2, Kyler Murray. We've heard about him. Keep going down the list. Look at number 5. Juwan Jennings was the 5th best. And I saw it here, Blackman High School. All right. Just down the street. This kid, Juwan Jennings, can play quarterback. I'm not kidding. And let me show you, all right, who he was ranked above. All right. You ready for this? Sam Darnold, some guy named Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. All right. Kelly Bryant at Clemson. And you can keep going down the list. I'm not kidding. All right. Your boy, Juwan Jennings, is the answer at quarterback.
It was all over him. I had him last year in multiple ladders where we had him on receiving yards, and it felt like about 2 weeks in, then all the value disappeared because he had that like 168-yard game or whatever it was, and suddenly everybody knew who Juwan Jennings was overnight, and it was like, oh, no, there he goes again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite, man. I love the anti-correlation SGPs where it's like you take someone under receptions but like over crazy alt yardage. We used to do that with Jameson Williams all the time, where it goes from like if they're correlated, it'll pay out like 2 to 1. It turns into 25 to 1.
I used to try to take use check for 1+ reception and a touchdown like all the time because it was where you were going to get him at like the 2, and everybody's going to shift this way. And you're going to leave use check the one time he gets that reception opportunity.
That's my
like, hey, it's worth it. One time during the season will pay itself back. Now I can't even do that. Now we've gotten rid of him too. So now I can't root for use check either.
I know that was tough, dude. I like use check. That dude's a hoss, man.
He's awesome.
Oh yeah, he is awesome, dude. All right, that's the NFL. All right, now let me pull the picks back up here. For anybody who hasn't seen it, all right, Xavier plus 2.5, Boise State plus 1, UConn. Sorry, that's my fault. Should be 6.5 there. College money line parlay. Got Louisville, Illinois, Purdue. I'm on Ole Miss money line, Kentucky money line plus 105. That's college basketball, as well as Arizona minus 2.5 against Kansas tonight. You are on Mitch Marner over half of a goal. Cubs first inning money line. Stanford first half money line. CJ McCollum over 4.5 assists. All right, so those are the picks. Now, to end the show here, all right? All right, Robert Bibbo, my man, says they have to run. Come on, bring it, man. I know you got some picks. Yeah, we need you, my boy. We need you for sure. Now, I want to talk some Major League Baseball, all right? Because we're getting close to it, and then we'll get out of here. I know I've kept you guys for almost an hour here, right? But I do want to discuss a little Major League Baseball because it is coming up. And, I mean, who doesn't love Major League Baseball, right? So, The interesting thing is this, okay? And I'll pull it up here. So here's our World Series winner, and I'll pull this up full screen. All right, so just a very simple look, all right? And I'll even zoom in on that so it's easier to see. Are you taking the Dodgers plus 240? Or are you going with the field? Greg, I'll throw it over to you first.
I'm boring. I'm going with the Dodgers. Injuries aside, it's going to be hard to beat this team. They keep getting better on all sides of the field. Ohtani didn't even pitch last year. I mean, you look at what's coming back and the additions they got, especially on the mound. Give me the Dodgers.
Yep. Anant?
Boo.
Give me the field. I think, especially one, I think you've got so many quality teams that have bolstered so much of it. The Braves obviously jump out, and the Yankees as well. But I just think it's so hard when you are that heavy of a favorite to carry that mantle for the entire season and then into the postseason. I think at some point somebody's going to clip them. I don't know if that'll be pre-playoffs. I don't know if that'll be injuries pre-playoffs or if that'll be, somewhere during the playoffs. But I get why they are that number because, man, that's a pretty incredible roster.
It is. Yeah, not to interrupt you. Like, it is. And, like, we're not – that's just focusing on the lineup of hitting. Like, they've revamped the pitching staff, too. Like, that's what's scary, right? The Braves, their pitching staff is going to look different, but it's going to look solid. Ronald Acuna coming back from injury is going to be huge because, I mean, Acuna literally was worth 2 hitters because he could hit for power. He could hit leadoff, style. And then he got on it, and he's arguably one of the best, base stealers in the game. So a single would almost inevitably turn into a double, right? But when he was out, Matt Olson suffered. Austin Riley suffered, right? Like, it hurts when you lose a guy like that, right? And then so many more injuries happen. But looking at a question here, or not even really a question, and Greg, I throw it over to you. The Red Sox sprinkler. How do you feel about the Red Sox this year? Like, and I'm not even talking about, like, having to win the World Series, but just in general. How you feel about it?
Yeah, I took a future on the Red Sox to win the East at plus 350. There was good odd value on, I think it was BV. I think it was Bovada that had it that much higher. So took it. It was more a placement bet with the value right there. The Red Sox are going to be an interesting team this year. There's a lot of aspirations with this team. The pitching could be good, but there's a lot of youth. I mean, they got better in terms of what they got starting pitching wise, but they're going to be playing in a really tough division. You're going to get endless battles with the Yankees, with Baltimore. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Tampa, but I did think that this team does have a pretty good shot. I thought the value was pretty high, and what, if they're in a battle down the stretch, then with the odds that we've got, there's an opportunity to look at finding them for a hedge point or looking for a spot to find some kind of middle if you can. So I think that Red Sox early have some value. It's going to be interesting. The first month is going to tell us a decent. If they get off to a bad start, it's going to be really hard to keep up in that division. But I took an interesting one too. I found a future yesterday where it finished placement and it went Red Sox, Yankees, Baltimore, and I think it was 23-1. It finished. So just looking at placement last night, it was an interesting alignment. I think I saw in DK. So yeah, hard to look at either of those two teams. But we've been quiet about the Red Sox, and I also look at kind of a win total for them. I think that their 86, I think, was a little bit low. So I did lean that over as well.
And I was going to say, like, you guys had both provided a good list, all right, of Major League Baseball, like, future bets. And I'll ask you both this. Trim it down to your 2 favorites that you have. Greg, I'll throw it over to you first, all right? What are your 2 favorite Major League Baseball future bets right now?
I would say I will jump on with you as well. I like the Braves as well. I think that the Braves, if they can stay healthy this year, are going to be really good again. I mean, their biggest problem was the injury bug last year. You can only do so much when you've only got so many guys on the field. And look where they still found themselves. I mean, they won a crazy playing game. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. Tough end of the season, but it is what it is. If there's a team that's going to be motivated and fired up, led by an Acuna and a Strider and a lot of other guys that you hope we're going to have that bounce back season in terms of injury and all else that comes with it. I do think that the Braves are going to make a lot of noise. The other side of it, and again, I hate to say it, but the Dodgers still at plus money is hard to ignore. I think that team is just going to be an absolute beast. Plus, they've got a pretty darn easy divisional schedule. I think the Giants are going to be iffy. The Diamondbacks, maybe will make some noise, but besides that, I don't think that division is going to offer them much resistance. So I think long term it's going to help in terms of what you're getting starting pitching wise, which should be consistent and not having to go deep into that bullpen every single night, on top of an offense that can beat you 12-11 every game.
Yeah, and that's it right there. Is when you don't have to go to the bullpen, and then you really don't have to go to the bullpen, and you can even, you can start working in younger arms. Then you start getting better because you're bringing up AA guys, AAA guy. Yeah,
I was going to say, I didn't mean to cut you, but
no.
You look at even what was the top 50 prospects. The Dodgers have 4 of them right there already. I mean, it's
frightening. I know.
Which, as much as I want to hate them, you give them a lot of credit because not only are they making these huge contracts, and so be it, it's the number, but they are drafting well. They are bringing up talent well. It's a beast right now because when you're bringing up guys in your own system, you're not having to pay them these wild major contracts. You're establishing them into the league, and it's scary. It shows that they're going to be good for quite a while.
Yeah, and like all the money that they're spending, they're making 10 times the amount in international markets as well. Like LA has just got it figured out. So now I throw the same question over to you, man. Your 2 favorite, man. Like future bets. Yeah, go ahead.
Living in Chicago, White Sox under 54.5. I mean, I feel like that's just, we're putting a hat on a hat here, but got to build a bankroll some way. The team sucks. I mean, I think everybody knows that the team sucks. Like there's nothing to discuss here. It's one thing to be bad, but interesting. They're just bad. They're not interesting at all. And so instead, I'm going to go to my second one, which I think both of you might like. I think I found it on FanDuel, but I'll have to double check that. I'll tweet it out or something. It's the Braves to earn the NL 1 seed, and it's about 7-1 plus 700 right now. And I think that's more of an injury hedge against the Dodgers, because I think at some point, whether it's the Braves or somebody else that comes up to take that spot, if you can get the Dodgers for any reasonable number, I think they were minus odds to earn the 1 seed, which again, I mean, the numbers that we're talking about here for the Dodgers are borderline historic, almost unseen. They're so heavily favored that if you can even kind of get a second team in there for a little bit, I think that might have some value. But, God forbid someone on the Dodgers gets injured, one of their big players gets injured. I think the Braves have a pretty decent shot. Better than if we run it 8 times, I think the Braves get the 1 seed more than once. So that was the thought there.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great analytical look at it, right? And I'll give I'm a Braves guy, and I really enjoy their front office. I think that they have an outstanding front office that's they're intelligent. They think ahead. Same deal, with the Dodgers. They try to use their money, use free agency intelligently, but also draft and develop well, right? That's the key, and they got a shot to do it. And you got a lot of guys that are looking to kind of bounce back for last season. All right, I've kept our boys way long enough. So kind of them to stay with us. Here are our picks for today. You see them right there on the screen. Now we're going to end it with a stat of the day, as we always do. Okay, so we go back to our conversation about Duke and Georgia Tech. All right, Duke minus 22.5. Do we do it or not? And I think we all agreed it's like you bet Duke or nothing, right? So let me make it more difficult for you. Okay, Georgia Tech, they've covered the spread in 9 of their last 13 games. So I throw it back. Does anyone? Here's what we're going to do. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Everybody who's still with us right now, type in the chat right now. I'm going to put $100 on Georgia Tech plus 22.5. Okay. If it doesn't hit, if it does not hit, I'll give out 4 $25 Venmos in the afternoon show. Because I think this is the early game, right? Like I think it tips at like,
was it 11:30, 12, something like that?
Yeah, I think it. Yeah. So if it does not hit, I'll lose the $100 bet that I'm putting on DraftKings, and $100 right here in the chat. So 22.5. Okay. Has this changed you guys' mind in any way?
Hell no.
I think I like Duke more now.
Yeah, I know. It absolutely frightens me. It absolutely frightens me, man. All right, dude. I cannot thank you guys enough. Anand, it's so good to see you again, man. Would love to have you on. I know that you're a super busy dude, so I never want to just, be that dude on the text. It's like, hey. But bro, that seat is open for you anytime, and we would love to have you back, man.
Dude, thanks so much for having me, Greg. Great to meet you, man. It was always have a great time coming out here, but I might be laptop on the road and it might be AirPods instead of a microphone, but you know how these things go, man. Out of a hotel room, you've done it before, I've done it before, so if you need me, I'll be there.
I love it, man. And that's the best part, is that we never know. We'll literally catch you on a Southwest. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, look, man, I'm over in 22B. I got to be quiet here. The button. Greg, same as you, man. I mean, obviously, you know it. I think you're going to be on tomorrow talking college baseball.
Yeah, we'll have a big weekend slate for college baseball, so we'll be back on tomorrow.
I love it, man. All right, hey, for both these guys, thank you guys so much. All of you in the crew, thank you. You guys know I absolutely love you to death. All right, we'll be live today, 3 p.m. Eastern, to break down all of tonight's best bets. But until then, everybody, best of luck. Let's cash these tickets. Let's go. Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech. All right, and we will see you this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!